Hello, BookTube. This is Weekly Reads. My reading week this week has been very good. I started this week with Cat on a Hot Tin Roof by Tennessee Williams. I reread this play in conjunction with Angelia of Read and Reread's Endless Drama Project, for which Cat on a Hot Tin Roof is the January entry. Cat on a Hot Tin Roof takes place sometime around the middle of the 20th century in the American South. The setting is the Paulet Plantation, and the occasion of the play is the 65th birthday of the family patriarch Big Daddy Paulet. The Paulets are a decidedly dysfunctional family, and the focus on the play is the dysfunction between the youngest Paulet's son, Brick, and his wife, Maggie. Sometime before the play begins, Brick's best friend, Skipper, commits suicide, and Brick blames Maggie. And this has led to Brick increasingly becoming an alcoholic and ceasing to have sex with Maggie, who is desperate to change the situation. And so much of the first act is devoted to setting up this relationship. In the second act, the focus begins to turn more towards Big Daddy and his attempts to reach out to Brick, because he realizes that something's going on, and that he believes that he himself, after a health scare, has been given a clean bill of health, even though it is apparent to the rest of the family, except for him and Big Mama, the matriarch of the family, that he has terminal cancer. So Big Daddy is trying to have a conversation with his son and figure out what's the root of his problem. And then in the third act is the pretty much a resolution, even if that resolution is mostly in part airing of truths, but also another lie. And so the resolution is contingent, conditional, uncertain, and so as I reread this play for the second time, I first read this play sometime in the early 2000s and really enjoyed it. And then a few years ago, I reread the play, and I didn't quite get on with it as well as I had hoped. But this reread, this most recent one from Sunday, I really enjoyed it. I had a blast rereading this play. Just, it worked on me significantly. And what I really enjoyed is how gradually the audience begins to understand what exactly is going on with Brick and his disdain for mendacity, for lying. Not only the lies that we tell each other, but also the lies that we tell ourselves. And I think, in a way, a lot of this, his issues and his conversations with Maggie and then with Big Daddy, is how much of Skipper's death does he blame on Maggie and how much of it does he blame on himself? And how much is he justly blaming Maggie and how much is he shifting the blame from him onto her, even though he is also punishing himself? So some of the play is devoted to figuring out the nature of Brick and Skipper's relationship? Was it a deeply platonic, though heterosexual, friendship as Brick wants to make it out to be? Is it more a closeted gay relationship, as Maggie feared? Is it a combination of the two where Brick is heterosexual and just viewed this relationship as a deep friendship? And Skipper, whether he was conscious of it before or certainly after his attempted affair with Maggie, kind of hammered home the fact that he is gay or bisexual, that on his part it was romantic at some point. Exactly that, the nature of that relationship, which is of course left ambiguous. There is no clear answer as to what happened. And then also the ambiguity of well, not so much ambiguity, but also of other lies, of family trying to put on nice because they want to not be left out of the will. Also, resentments, as in this family, Brick is the favored son, despite all of his screw-ups and addictions, and Cooper, the older, more responsible brother, is very much the unfavorite. There is a line that always strikes me when Big Mama is being told the truth that Brick is her only son, and that revelation is like, I think, and I wonder if there's a realization on Gooper's part that basically all that he's been trying to do was worthless in the end. So it's really good. I really, really enjoyed this reread. I had a blast. And after I finished Cat on a Hot Tin Roof, I had some time to start to read or reread Nest of Matches by Amie Whittemore. This is her latest collection of poetry. It came out a few years ago, and I really enjoyed this reread. Despite the best efforts of the Houston Texans and New England Patriots in that horrible, crappy game, to distract from the fun that I had with this reread. And I reread this collection because I really wanted to read something by Amie Whittemore for this Poetry Thursday, which I did. And so I had quite a bit of a blast with it. And so I've spent most of this reading week slowly reading Spring Snow by Yukio Mishima, translated from the Japanese by Michael Gallagher. So Spring Snow is the first volume of the Sea of Fertility tetralogy, which is a long overview of Japan in the 20th century. This novel, Spring Snow, takes place during the last years of the Meiji era and the first years of the Taisho era, so the very early 19-teens, up to before the beginning of the First World War. The novel focuses on a young aristocrat named Kiyoaki Matsuge, who has a very tortured, very exacting idea of elegance and beauty that he wants to embody. That is, in very many ways, torturous, tragic, self-destructive. Over the course of the novel, he begins a relationship with Setoko, a young aristocratic woman who was basically a foster big sister. Kiyoaki spent much of his early years being raised by Setoko's parents so that he would get an education in refinement, in court elegance, that the Matsuges don't necessarily have. They have the wealth, but they don't have the generations of service to the imperial court that Setoko's family has. And gradually, this relationship between the two young people is at turns playful, at turns antagonistic, at turns romantic. And ultimately, it turns more destructive, more tragic, as Setoko and Kiyoaki's relationship sunders. And Setoko is betrothed to a young prince, although not closely related to the emperor. He's a distant relation to the emperor. And so this then begins the destructive, tragic phase of the relationship between Setoko and Kiyoaki, as Kiyoaki begins to pursue more actively a sexual relationship with Setoko. Kiyoaki's only friend is Honda, a young man who is aiming to study the law and become a Supreme Court justice like his father. And Honda acts as something of a bridge between the 4 volumes of the Sea of Fertility tetralogy, as he gets involved with 3 other people who he comes to believe are the reincarnations of Kiyoaki. So I love this novel. I am loving reading it. I'm having a blast. It's just, even a down day did not kill my enthusiasm for returning to this book. It is just magnificent. I'm still working my way through, so I will talk a lot more about Spring Snow next week once I have finished, which I expect I should be able to finish on Saturday. I have 179 pages left. I should get about 50 or so pages read today, and then read the final 120 pages on Saturday. So yeah, I'm looking forward to seeing how everything wraps up, although I will also be sad to leave this novel behind because it is just magnificent. So once I finish with Spring Snow, I will then move to The Swimming Pool Library by Ellen Hollinghurst. This is a gay novel from the early 1980s about although it was published in the later 80s, it's set in the early 1980s London. And it's about a wealthy young gay man who has no need to work, but he just does so to have something to do. But he spends most of his time working out and trying to have sex. And one day he meets and saves the life of an elderly gay aristocrat who takes a liking to the narrator and begins to mentor the narrator and offer him a job as an official biographer. And what follows is a crash course in the history of 20th century gay life in London. I have a decided love-hate relationship with this book, and I'm fully hoping that this reread will be full of love. Because I am, right now, decidedly in a more fiction, poetry, and drama phase than I am anything else. And then if I have time, I will try to get to King Solomon's Mines by H. Rider Haggard and see where that gets me. I'm hoping by the end of the month that I will be able to at least finish the books that are on the fiction, poetry, and drama shelves so that I can put them up and then put the books that I have hauled over the course of January onto the shelves. And then I will pull the February reading plan off and do that video on the 1st. I'm not entirely sure if I will be able to get to the other 2 books that I would like to read for January. If not, I will try to get them at the beginning of February, give or take. But anyway, that's my plan for this coming reading week. So as far as booktube plans are concerned, I'm hoping would like to make more videos than I have been. But I haven't been having much success with book tags. I have been trying book tags every day for the last few weeks, and they just do not want to work out for me. And it's getting a bit disappointing. I've also been thinking about starting a 2026 library tour, but I haven't really committed to that because I need to figure out the logistics for the cookbooks and the science fiction and fantasy, which are in the kitchen and in the hall respectively. So I would have to film those episodes overnight or something. So I will think a bit more about that, and hopefully next week, whatever issue I'm having with book tags will be over. But if not, next week there will certainly be a final book haul for January. I have a 4-book order incoming from Book People, the great bookstore in Austin, Texas. I also will be doing at least one Poetry Thursday episode, and of course there will be weekly reads. So look forward to that, and hope I will be able to do some tag videos or discussion videos. Anyway, BookTube, I'm going to go ahead and sign off for now, and I will see you next week. So until then, thank you. Have a great rest of your evening, and have a great weekend. And hopefully stay warm, because I'm thinking most of the country of the United States is going to be having a snowstorm, which for us it will begin sometime tomorrow and run through at least midday Tuesday, when we should get out of the freezing temperatures. But anyway, so I will see you I will see you next week, because anyway. So, sorry for the digression. I'm sort of, getting distracted right now and fumbling. So, anyway, BookTube, I will see you next week.